And not only to develop it, but also to ensure that across their development, they have a system of equality and of justice in economic. They can't have that except if they mobilize itself Islamically. And I advise that every Muslim country to proceed peacefully, and not necessarily by conflict between the people who wants to assert Islam and a government which wants to dictate another alien system and impose it on a Muslim society.
What freedom of choice do citizens have in your Islamic state? What happens to the secular dimension of life?
Well, we don't know a section of life which is not religious. If people do believe in God, whether they are Christians or Muslims, they have to believe that God is omnipresent. He is not only a dominant force inside the church or inside the mosque. Once you leave the door, you are absolutely free there, and God is not existent anymore. I mean, no. I mean, whatever Islam teaches has been taught by all religion, Judaism or Christianity, that religion is a comprehensive way of life, and God is a divine, absolute guide of your life everywhere. Whether you are an artist, art should be a religious vocation, not for the sake of art, but a religious practice. Economic pursuits should be also related to God. Power, political power is not just a satisfaction of one's own will for ultimate, absolute power for his selfish interests, but no, it's an act of worship. And it's like rituals, it's like prayer, I mean. All life is a pursuit of submission to God. This actually was once Christianity, and this was Judaism, and this was Islam. The word Islam itself does not describe the message of Muhammad. It describes the messages of Abraham, Moses, Jesus Christ, and Muhammad all together.
Are you not talking about a centralized state?
Not at all. It's a society where the society is much more important than the state. It's not a totalitarian state. No, because most of the religious values are not legalized. They are not enforced by legal sanction, by the police power, by the judicial power. In a more perfect society, the state is reduced, the government is reduced to a very little dimension.
What is the role of democracy in your model of the Islamic state?
More democratic than the democratic model of the West. And
free market?
A freer market, but a more equal and just market than the market of the West today. But it's something much similar than the socialist market of yesterday.
And minimum government?
Minimum government, that's right. Minimum government. The more perfect society becomes, the less government has to do.
How does all that differ from the conservatives, say, for example? That's what they say.
Well, the conservatives, you know, preserve much of their original traditional custom. But in Islam is a religion of renewal. It's not a system that is obsessed by custom. I mean, today we may represent Islam or reflect it through certain customs and traditions. But Islam teaches us that constantly we should renew our life and move away from traditional customs if they no longer represent our values. So the values will be eternal. But our customs, our practices, our procedures are just contemporary, are not permanent. So we are not conservative. We are liberals all the time, renewing our lives, so to speak.
Why have all the Islamic states in recent times turned out to be authoritarian and very dictatorial?
It's not because they are Islamic at all. They are just actually, they represent the legacy of the imperial history. When we were governed by these imperial powers, we were governed by completely authoritative, dictatorial foreign governments. And the national governments took over to continue the legacy of authoritarian rule. They never returned to Islam, because Islam means that whoever takes power is not powerful, absolutely powerful. He surrenders power to the people who surrender it to God in due course. So if the government is authoritarian, it means that it's not Islamic. If it's hereditary, it means that it's not Islamic at all.
Is your Islamic state a single-party state?
Even in the West now, parties are not as important as it used to be a few decades back. I mean, there is hardly a difference today between between one party and the other, because socialism, you know, at one time, capitalism used to represent quite different programs. But now in England or in America, there is hardly a difference between one party and the other. They're just two groups competing for power, but there is hardly a difference over the program now. So democracy is not always a partisan democracy.
Would you, for example, allow number of different parties, maybe Marxist, communist, capitalist?
I don't think that political parties will develop in such a society. There will be different trends, but no one will stand with a